Have you ever been told you were too much, just for being proud of what you built? What would you do if your own family tried to dim your light? I never planned on revenge. But when my own sister accused me of being selfish after I gifted our struggling cousins $10,000 each, I realized, maybe I wasn't the show-off after all. Maybe she just hated that I finally had the power to give others what she couldn't. Emma Brooks stared at the message on her phone, her thumb hovering over the screen. Family dinner, everyone's coming. Saturday at 6. Can't wait to see you all. Mom and Dad. The group chat exploded with cheerful responses from aunts, uncles, and cousins. Her sister Rachel had already replied with an enthusiastic, wouldn't miss it heartsuit, and a follow-up about bringing her famous tiramisu. Emma hadn't typed a word. She set her phone down on her sleek glass desk and swiveled her chair to face the floor-to-ceiling windows of her downtown Denver office. From the 23rd floor, the city sprawled beneath her, a concrete testament to ambition and opportunity. Her reflection stared back, dark hair pulled into a neat ponytail, minimal makeup, simple black turtleneck. Nothing flashy. Nothing that screamed, I just sold a major stake in my company for 8 figures. Her assistant knocked lightly before entering. The investors are ready for you in the conference room. And the PR team sent over the press release draft for final approval. Thanks, Mia. I'll be right there. Emma glanced back at her phone, still lit up with family messages. Actually, can you block off next Saturday evening? Family thing. Mia nodded, making a note. The same family that. Yes, Emma cut her off with a small smile. The same family. The same family where her sister Rachel had spent the last dinner making pointed comments about Emma's interesting career choice. The same family where her mother had whispered, maybe wear something more normal next time, despite Emma wearing just jeans and a button-down. The same family where her father had changed the subject when Emma mentioned acquiring her first major corporate client. The last dinner had ended with Rachel saying, well, we can't all be workaholics with no personal life, to uncomfortable laughter around the table. Emma picked up her phone and typed a simple response, I'll be there. As she walked to the conference room, memories flooded back, being 12 and winning a science competition, only to have her parents say, let's not brag about it to your sister. Being 16 and getting a full scholarship to MIT while dinner conversation focused on Rachel's promotion at the local bank. Being 22 and launching her app from a cramped studio apartment, her mother's only comment being, but is it stable? Emma's wellness app, Mindful Me, had been a pandemic accident. Trapped in quarantine and struggling with her own anxiety, she'd coded a simple meditation and habit tracker that somehow caught fire. 2 years of sleepless nights and reinvested profits later, she'd scaled it into a comprehensive mental wellness platform with over 2 million active users. Last week, she'd sold 30% of the company to a venture capital firm but maintained controlling interest. She was now worth more money than her entire extended family combined would earn in their lifetimes. And not one of them knew. Emma straightened her shoulders as she approached the conference room. She addressed the investors with confidence and clarity, walking them through projections that made their eyes widen with possibility. This was where she belonged, in rooms where her voice was valued, her vision respected. We're excited to have you leading this, said the lead investor as they wrapped up. Not many founders can navigate both the creative and business sides this effectively. Emma smiled. Thank you. I'm looking forward to this next phase. Later that night, lying in bed in her downtown loft, she scrolled through old family photos. Rachel at her college graduation, arms thrown around their beaming parents. Rachel's wedding day, their mother crying tears of joy. Rachel holding up keys to her first house, their father's proud hand on her shoulder. And where was Emma in these pictures? Usually behind the camera. Or standing slightly apart, her achievements relegated to quick mentions and changed subjects. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Don't forget dinner on Saturday. No need to bring anything. And honey? No need to talk about work too much. Your Uncle Tim just lost his job. Emma stared at the ceiling fan slowly rotating above her. Something had to change. She wouldn't be small again. Not this time. This time, she whispered to her empty apartment, I'm done hiding. Saturday arrived with Denver's typical crisp fall air. Emma drove her modest Audi. She'd never been one for flashy cars to her parents' suburban home, the same split level where she'd grown up. Rachel's Range Rover already occupied the prime spot in the driveway, forcing Emma to park along the curb. She checked her reflection in the rearview mirror. Simple gold studs, light mascara, hair falling in soft waves. The cashmere sweater she wore cost more than her mother's entire outfit would, but it didn't announce itself as expensive. Emma had learned long ago, be successful, but never look too successful around family. There she is, her mother called as Emma walked in, carrying a bottle of wine that cost exactly what her mother would consider appropriate, not cheap enough to seem thoughtless, not expensive enough to seem showy. The perfect middle ground of acceptability. The house smelled like her mother's famous pot roast and her father's cologne. Some things never changed. Emma. Her cousin Lily approached, giving her a warm hug. How's the app going? My roommate uses it all the time. Before Emma could answer, Rachel appeared, golden blonde and glowing in a designer dress, champagne flute already in hand. Emma, you finally made it. I was just telling everyone about our summer in Greece. The villa had the most incredible view of Santorini. It sounds amazing, Emma replied, accepting a glass of wine from her father. It truly was. You should try to get away sometime. All work and no play. Rachel trailed off with a practiced laugh. Their mother ushered everyone to the dining room, where the extended family was gathering, aunts, uncles, and 5 cousins ranging from their early 20s to mid-30s. Emma found herself seated between her father and cousin Lily, with Rachel directly across, perfectly positioned to maintain eye contact. Dinner began pleasantly enough with discussions of weather and local sports. Emma remained quiet, observing. Her cousin Jake mentioned his new job. Her aunt described her garden renovation. Her uncle complained about property taxes. So Emma, her Aunt Susan finally turned to her, still doing that app thing? Emma smiled. Yes, Mindful Me is doing well. We just hit 2 million. Rachel was telling us about their European summer. Her mother interrupted. 3 countries in 2 weeks. How did you manage the jet lag, dear? Rachel launched into a detailed description of business-class flights and 5-star hotels. Her husband, Mark, a corporate lawyer with a permanent half-smile, nodded along appropriately. Emma took a sip of wine and noticed her cousin Lily looking down at her plate, pushing food around distractedly. Everything okay? Emma asked quietly. Lily sighed. Just stressing about rent. My roommate moved out suddenly and I'm stuck covering everything until I find someone new. The Denver market is brutal right now. I could help, Emma began. No money talk at the table, her mother said sharply from the other end. This is family time. Speaking of family, Uncle Tim said, my son's student loans are killing him. These interest rates are criminal. Emma glanced at her cousin Ben, who was in his final year of medical school. He gave a weary nod. It'll be worth it when you're a doctor, her father said firmly. Everyone has to pay their dues. Some more than others, Ben muttered. Rachel cleared her throat. Mark and I were thinking of investing in a lake house next summer. We found the cutest place in Vail. Emma noticed the fleeting expressions around the table, the tight smile of Uncle Tim who'd just lost his job, the sinking shoulders of cousin Ben drowning in student debt, the worried eyes of Lily calculating rent she couldn't afford. Maybe I could, Emma started again. Emma's always trying to make everything about her, Rachel interjected with a light laugh. Classic little sister syndrome. Their parents chuckled. Don't be a show-off, Emma, her father said. Just eat your dinner. Under the table, Emma's phone sat heavily in her pocket. With a single tap, she could change lives around this table. With a few numbers, she could shift the balance of power that had defined her family for decades. Her mother stood to clear plates. Who's ready for dessert? Emma excused herself to the bathroom, locked the door, and pulled out her phone. She texted her assistant. Mia, I need you to make immediate transfers. $10,000 each to the following people. I'll send their details in the next text. Make it happen now, please. She paused, finger hovering over the send button. Was she doing this out of generosity or defiance? To help her cousins or to make a point? Both, she decided. It could be both. She pressed send. When Emma returned to the table, her mother was serving apple pie a la mode while her father poured coffee. Rachel was mid-story about a celebrity she'd spotted at a restaurant in Manhattan last month. He was sitting right next to us and Mark almost didn't recognize him because he's so much shorter in person. A phone chimed. Then another. And another. Around the table, cousins reached for their devices, faces transitioning from social politeness to confusion to shock. What the hell? Ben whispered, staring at his screen. Lily gasped audibly. Emma, is this? What's going on? Emma's mother demanded, frustrated at the interruption. Jake, the oldest cousin, looked up from his phone directly at Emma. Did you just send us all $10,000? The table fell silent. All eyes turned to Emma, who took a deliberate bite of apple pie before responding. Yes, she said simply. I thought it might help. Rachel's fork clattered against her plate. You what? I sent each of our cousins $10,000, Emma repeated calmly. No strings attached. Her father's face reddened. What is this about, Emma? Some kind of stunt. It's not a stunt, Emma replied. Ben needs help with medical school debt. Lily needs rent assistance. Jake's trying to start his business. Sarah and Michael both have young kids and daycare costs. I'm in a position to help, so I did. We don't do charity within the family, her mother hissed. It's inappropriate. It's not charity, Emma countered. It's support. Rachel's face had gone from shock to livid. You're trying to show us up. You're trying to make Mark and me look bad because we talked about a vacation home. This isn't about you, Rachel. Everything is always about you. Rachel's voice rose. Little Emma, always needing attention. Poor Emma, so quiet and misunderstood. And now rich Emma, throwing money around to buy everyone's affection. Emma's mother placed a hand on Rachel's arm. Honey, calm down. No. Rachel stood up, hands flat on the table. She's manipulating all of you. She's never cared about family before. She skips half our gatherings, barely calls, and now suddenly she's a fairy godmother. The cousins exchanged uncomfortable glances. Rachel, Sarah, the youngest cousin, said hesitantly, Emma's helped me before. She reviewed my resume last year and introduced me to my current boss. And she helped me move last summer, Jake added. Rented the truck herself and brought pizza for everyone. Rachel's eyes narrowed. So she's been playing the long game. Building up her savior complex while she stopped abruptly. While you what? Emma asked quietly. The silence stretched uncomfortably until Lily spoke. Well, you charged us interest when we borrowed money from you. Rachel's face went pale. That's not. I was teaching financial responsibility. Emma watched her sister carefully. Is that what you call the 8% you charged Ben when he needed help with car repairs? Or the collateral you took from Sarah when she needed rent money? You don't understand. Rachel's voice cracked. We have appearances to maintain. A lifestyle. Expectations. And I don't. Emma asked. Rachel grabbed her purse, hands shaking. You're not generous, Emma. You're disgusting. This display, this performance. You're using money to humiliate me in front of our entire family. With that, she stormed out of the dining room. Seconds later, the front door slammed shut. Mark stood awkwardly. I'll go check on her. He nodded apologetically to the table before following his wife. In the silence that followed, Emma's father cleared his throat. I think it's best if we all calm down and... Thank you, Emma, Ben interrupted. This means I can actually eat something besides ramen next month. His voice was thick with emotion. One by one, the cousins expressed their gratitude, ignoring the uncomfortable shifting of Emma's parents. As the night wound down and guests began to leave, Lily pulled Emma aside in the kitchen. You should know something, she whispered. Rachel's been different lately. Stressed about money. Michael overheard her arguing with Mark about credit card debt last Christmas. Emma frowned. Debt? But they're always talking about vacations and second homes. Lily shrugged. All I know is when I asked to borrow $800 for an emergency root canal last year, she made me sign an actual contract with interest terms. Said it was what financially responsible adults do. Emma drove home that night with her head spinning. The family dynamic had shifted irrevocably, but into what, she wasn't sure. Her phone buzzed repeatedly with grateful texts from cousins. A terse message from her father, we need to discuss your behavior, and nothing at all from Rachel. For the first time in her adult life, Emma had refused to make herself small for her family's comfort. She had used her success not just to help others but to reveal a truth that had been lurking beneath their family gatherings for years. As she pulled into her building's garage, one final text came through, from her cousin Jake. Whatever happens with Rachel and your parents, just know the cousins are finally seeing things clearly. This wasn't about the money. It was about someone finally acknowledging we're all struggling while some people pretend everything's perfect. Emma fell asleep that night with a strange mix of vindication and sadness. She had finally stepped into her power, but at what cost to the family she still loved? By Monday morning, the family group chat had splintered into factions. Her parents had created a separate thread without Emma to discuss the situation. The cousins had formed their own group, which they invited Emma to join. Rachel had gone silent on all channels. Emma's mother called twice before Emma had finished her morning coffee. "You've created quite a mess," her mother said when Emma finally answered. "Your father and I raised you better than to flaunt your money this way. Is that what you think happened?" Emma asked, gazing out at the Denver skyline from her kitchen window. "What else would you call it?" Rachel is devastated. She feels like you deliberately undermined her in front of the family. "By helping our cousins?" Her mother sighed. "You know that's not what this is about. Whatever issues you have with your sister, you should have discussed them privately instead of creating this spectacle. Like you discussed things privately when you told me not to talk about my accomplishments so Rachel wouldn't feel bad? Or when you changed the subject every time my business came up." A long pause followed. "We've always been proud of you, Emma. But never as proud as you are of Rachel. That's always been clear." Another pause. "Your sister has always needed more support, more reassurance. You were always so independent." Emma laughed without humor. "I became independent because I had to. Because from day one, the family narrative was set. Rachel was the star, and I was the supporting character." "That's not fair," her mother protested weakly. "None of it has been fair," Emma replied. "But I'm not angry anymore. I just won't pretend to be less than I am." After hanging up, Emma stared at Rachel's contact information on her phone. Despite everything, they were still sisters. 25 years of history, some good, much complicated, couldn't be erased by one dramatic dinner. She pressed call. To her surprise, Rachel answered. "Can we talk?" Emma asked. "Just us. No parents, no audience." An hour later, they sat across from each other at a quiet coffee shop downtown, neutral territory. Rachel looked different without an audience, smaller somehow, her designer bag showing subtle wear at the edges, dark circles visible beneath her expertly applied concealer. "You look tired," Emma said. Rachel stirred her latte absently. "Haven't been sleeping well." They sat in uncomfortable silence until Rachel finally spoke. "Why did you do it? Was it just to humiliate me?" "No," Emma answered honestly. "I did it because our cousins needed help and I could give it. You could have done it privately. You didn't have to make a show of it at dinner. Like you make a show of your perfect life at every family gathering?" Rachel's eyes flashed. "That's different. Is it?" Emma leaned forward. "Every dinner, every holiday, every conversation, it's the Rachel show. Your trips, your house, your picture-perfect marriage. You've been putting on a performance our entire lives. Because that's what they wanted." Rachel burst out, then immediately lowered her voice. "That's what they expected from me. To be the successful one, the perfect daughter, the role model. And they expected me to stay in your shadow," Emma replied. "To never outshine you, to never make you feel insecure. Do you have any idea what that's like? To dim your own light because someone else can't handle your brightness." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't hate that you gave them money. I hated that they love you now. They've always loved me, Rachel. And they've always loved you. But the difference is they respect me now." Rachel looked away. "You have no idea what it's like being the favorite. The pressure, the expectations. Mom and Dad put all their dreams on my shoulders. I couldn't fail ever. So instead you made sure I felt like the failure?" "I was jealous," Rachel admitted, voice barely audible. "You've always been smarter than me. More capable. You built something real while I've been." She trailed off. "While you've been what, Rachel?" Rachel's facade finally cracked. "Drowning in debt. Keeping up appearances we can't afford. The European vacation? We put it on 3 different credit cards. Mark's firm is struggling, but we can't tell anyone because his family would freak out. The Vale House? A complete fantasy." Emma sat back, stunned. "Why didn't you say something? And admit that perfect Rachel is a fraud? That would destroy Mom and Dad." She wiped away a tear. "Do you know what Dad said when you left last Christmas? Thank God Rachel has her life together, even if Emma is still finding her way. They've been using me as the measuring stick for success my entire life. I couldn't let them down." For the first time, Emma saw her sister clearly, not as the golden child or the antagonist of her story, but as another woman struggling under the weight of impossible expectations. "Rachel, they wouldn't love you any less if they knew you were struggling. Wouldn't they? Our family doesn't do vulnerability, Emma. We do success stories or we do silence." Emma reached across the table and took her sister's hand. "Then maybe it's time we create a new family story." The weeks following what the cousins now called the $10,000 dinner brought seismic shifts to the Brooks family dynamics. Emma's parents, faced with the undeniable evidence of their favoritism, cycled through denial, anger, and eventually, shame. Her father called one evening, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "Your mother and I have been doing some thinking," he said. "And some reading. About family dynamics and preferential treatment of children." Emma nearly dropped her phone in shock. "Oh, we may have, that is to say, we didn't realize how our behavior affected you growing up. Or how it put pressure on Rachel." It wasn't quite an apology, but for Thomas Brooks it was revolutionary. Meanwhile, the cousins' group chat flourished. What began as grateful messages about Emma's generosity evolved into genuine connections. Jake used his portion to secure a small business loan. Sarah enrolled her daughter in a better daycare. Ben paid down some of his medical school debt and could finally afford a real grocery shop. Lily found a new apartment she could manage on her own. More importantly, they began to share struggles they'd previously kept hidden: financial anxieties, career disappointments, parenting challenges, breaking the family tradition of presenting only perfectly curated versions of their lives. Rachel, however, remained on the periphery, having withdrawn from family gatherings entirely. Emma's attempts to reach out met with brief, non-committal responses until one day in late November when Rachel agreed to meet again. This time they met at Emma's apartment, a sign of trust that wasn't lost on either of them. "I started therapy," Rachel announced without preamble as she accepted the cup of tea Emma offered. "Twice a week." "That's great," Emma replied, genuinely surprised. "It was Mark's idea, actually." Rachel settled onto Emma's modern sectional sofa, looking more relaxed than Emma had seen her in years. "We're both going. Separately and together." "How is it?" "Brutal. Necessary." Rachel managed a small smile. "Turns out I have some issues with perfectionism and external validation." "Who knew?" Emma laughed softly. "Shocking." They sipped their tea in what felt, for the first time in adulthood, like companionable silence. "We're selling the house," Rachel finally said. "Downsizing to something we can actually afford. Mark's looking at joining a smaller firm with less pressure. I'm figuring out what I actually want versus what I thought I was supposed to want." "That sounds healthy." Rachel nodded. "It is. Terrifying but healthy." She hesitated, then added, "I turned down Mom and Dad's offer to help with our debt." Emma raised an eyebrow. "They offered?" "Once they realized how bad things were, yes. But I said no. I need to fix this myself, with Mark. We got ourselves into this mess trying to impress everyone. We need to get ourselves out of it honestly." Pride swelled in Emma's chest. "That takes courage." "I'm trying to learn from my annoyingly successful little sister," Rachel said with a hint of her old spark. "Speaking of which, I hear you're taking the cousins on some kind of retreat." Emma nodded. "A financial literacy and future planning weekend. Nothing fancy, just some workshops and discussions about money management, investing basics, entrepreneurship options. Things our family never talked about openly." "Good," Rachel said. "They need that." She took a deep breath. "Do you think would it be weird if I came too? Not to take over or anything. Maybe just to listen." The request hung in the air between them, an olive branch, an admission of changed power dynamics, a step toward a new kind of sisterhood. "I think that would be perfect," Emma said softly. That night, after Rachel left, Emma stood at her window watching the city lights. Her phone buzzed with a text from cousin Jake. "Family lunch at Lily's this Sunday. Parents' generation not invited. You in?" Emma smiled and typed back, "Absolutely. And Rachel's coming too." The response came quickly, "Cool. We've all been talking. It's time for some changes in how we do family." As winter settled over Denver, Emma watched her family transform. The cousins' bond strengthened through regular gatherings and genuine support. Her parents, though still struggling to fully understand their role in the family dysfunction, were making awkward but sincere efforts to change. And Rachel, complicated, competitive, changing Rachel, was doing the hardest work of all, dismantling her own facade and facing the insecurities beneath. One evening in early December, Emma came home to find a small package outside her door. Inside was a framed photo she'd never seen before: Emma at age 10, holding up a science fair ribbon, beaming with pride. With it was a note in Rachel's handwriting: "I found this in Mom's attic. Thought you should have it. R." When Emma turned the frame over, she found another note taped to the back, this one much longer. Emma settled into her reading chair, Rachel's letter in hand. "Dear Emma, I've started this letter a dozen times. There's no easy way to say, I'm sorry I've been a terrible sister for most of our lives, but that's the truth I need to start with. When we were growing up, I thought love was a competition. I thought there was only so much approval and attention to go around, and I had to hoard it like a resource that might run out. I didn't understand that lifting you up wouldn't diminish me. The night you gave our cousins that money wasn't about the money at all. It was about you finally refusing to be small so I could feel big. And my reaction wasn't about generosity, it was about control. I'd spent so long being the successful one that I couldn't handle you stepping into your power. The truth is, I've always admired you. Your brilliance, your quiet determination, your ability to build something meaningful. I was jealous, and that jealousy turned me into someone I'm not proud of. What amazes me most is that you gave without asking for anything back. No recognition, no leverage, no control. Just support, freely given. That's something I'm still learning how to do. Therapy is teaching me that we were both shaped by a family dynamic neither of us created. Mom and Dad did their best, but they set us up as competitors instead of allies. You became the scapegoat. I became the golden child. Neither role was healthy. I'm working to be better, a better sister, a better person. I don't expect instant forgiveness. Some wounds take time to heal. But I want you to know that I see you now. Really see you. And I'm proud of my sister. With love and regret, Rachel. Emma read the letter twice, tears streaming down her face. She reached for her phone and typed. I got your letter. Thank you. We were raised to fight over crumbs. I'm done with crumbs, and there's room at this table for both of us. Lunch tomorrow? Rachel's response came immediately. Name the place. I'll be there. 6 months after the $10,000 dinner, Emma stood before a room of 30 women at the launch of her new foundation, Rise Together, a mentorship program specifically designed for women from dysfunctional families who had become, in the program's words, the scapegoat turned star. Rachel sat in the front row beside their parents, who had come bearing awkward but sincere support. The cousins filled an entire section, chatting animatedly with program participants. Family dynamics shape us, Emma began, but they don't have to define us. Many of us grew up believing that success was a limited resource, that for one person to rise, another had to fall. Today we're rejecting that scarcity mindset. She caught Rachel's eye and received an encouraging nod. Some people think revenge means hurting those who hurt you, Emma continued. But I've learned that true revenge, true freedom, comes from building yourself so tall they can't reach your level just to drag you back down. As applause filled the room, Emma felt a profound sense of closure. The journey from invisible daughter to family scapegoat to empowered woman had been difficult, but necessary. She had transformed her pain into purpose, her resentment into resolve. And perhaps most surprisingly, she had found that the family she'd once felt so alienated from was capable of growth and change. After the event, as guests mingled over coffee and dessert, Emma found herself standing beside Rachel. Nice speech, her sister said. Very inspiring. Emma smiled. Think we've inspired our family enough for 1 year? Rachel laughed. Probably more than enough. Though I noticed Aunt Susan taking notes. They watched their cousins across the room, engaged in animated conversation with some of the mentorship participants. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't made such a scene at dinner that night? Emma asked. Rachel considered the question seriously. I think we'd still be trapped in our old patterns. Me performing success I couldn't afford. You hiding your light. The cousins suffering in silence. Mom and Dad enabling all of it. Worth it, then. Definitely worth it. Rachel linked her arm through Emma's. Though next time, maybe just send a group text before you start redistributing wealth. Emma laughed. Deal. As they moved to join the others, Emma reflected on the journey of the past 6 months. Her act of generosity, fueled partly by kindness, partly by frustration, had catalyzed changes beyond anything she could have imagined. Family secrets had been exposed, old wounds addressed, new connections forged. It hadn't been revenge after all. It had been revolution. And in that revolution, both sisters had found something more valuable than approval or success. They had found authenticity. They had found each other. They had found their way home.